Welcome to Next Level You podcast. I'm Stephanie Dingbaum, your host, your biggest cheerleader, and your go-to girlfriend for real, raw, and uplifting conversations about leveling up in life. As a mental health therapist with over a decade of experience and a business coach helping women elevate their lives and businesses, I'm here to guide you through the mindset shifts, holistic practices, and manifestation tools you need to step into your most authentic, next level self. Whether you're here to ignite your personal growth, elevate your professional game, or simply rediscover you, this podcast is your invitation to dream bigger, go after your goals, and unapologetically claim the life you deserve. So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's dive in. It's time to up-level, manifest, and glow. Welcome back to Next Level You podcast. Stephanie Dingbaum here. This is my first solo episode since taking a month off from the podcast, and I've got to say it feels so good to be back behind the mic. I have just truly missed this, and it just, when you do something that feels just aligned and right, and then you take time off from it, it just feels like a part of you is missing. And so it feels so good to be back doing this. I have some really major life updates to share with you guys, and I've been waiting for just the right time to share this information in the podcast with you, and the time is perfectly right. So today's solo episode, I want to share a major life update with all of you. My husband and I had a baby in the last month. We adopted a beautiful baby boy. And so what I want to do today is I want to spend time sharing this story with all of you because, as you can imagine, this has just been such a transformative time in my life, both personally and professionally. And there's just so many amazing parts to this story that I can't not share it with you guys. And I had to be careful. I had to wait, legally and ethically, you have to be careful sharing parts of this until things are finalized. And so we can officially share this story with anybody. And so, yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today. I think it's time that you guys all know what's been going on, why I had to take a month off. It's such a beautiful story. It just makes the most sense to share it on here with all of you. And I know I have a lot of family and friends who are curious and want to hear the story. And so this just seems like the best way to share it with everybody, including my listeners. So thank you guys truly from the bottom of my heart for being so supportive. If you've been a longtime listener, you know how the fertility journey has gone for me. If you are a new listener and you want to know more about that story, go back to, I think it's episodes 5 and 6. It's a 2-part story telling you all about the fertility journey that I've been going through in the last now 7 years. So give that a listen if you haven't yet. It's worth a listen. And then come back and listen to this so that you can piece everything together and hear the happy ending to our fertility story. But like I said, if you've been a longtime listener, you know how difficult and beautiful and just amazing this story, this journey has been for me and my husband. And since you know all about that, again, it just made sense to share with you this birth story or adoption story. It's just been a long time coming. So naturally, I want to share this with all of you. All right. So I'm just going to dive right in. So just to give you guys some background information, my husband and I actually began the adoption journey in January of 2024. We reached out to a local agency that handles adoptions here in Eastern Iowa, and we got the application sent to us, and we connected with an adoption specialist who is in charge of all the adoptions at this agency. And we just got the process started in January of last year. If you're not familiar with adoption, which I'm just going to share all the nitty-gritty details, and I'm going to assume that there's a decent amount of you out there who aren't as familiar with the process. If you are familiar with this process, then some of this you're going to be aware of. But when it comes to adoption, there are a lot of hoops to jump through if you are a couple trying to adopt. So from January of 2024 through August of 2024, there were tons of hoops that we had to jump through. We had to get extensive background checks. And when I say extensive, I mean very extensive. We had to my husband and I each had to type up our own autobiographies. We had to have multiple references checked in with by the adoption specialist. We had pretty much had to share our entire professional background. Like pretty much our entire resume had to be shared. They do a full financial history and go through our current financial standing. So like they get all the information on where we're at financially, currently, and historically. They do a home study, which involves them coming into our home, getting a tour of our home, becoming familiar with our neighborhood, things like that. And then we each had to do individual interviews with the adoption specialist, as well as joint interviews. That was part of the home study. So that's a bulk of what happened between January of 2024 and August of 2024. All of that took place. And it was quite the process. I mean, I didn't know anyone personally in my life who had gone through this. So I really didn't know what to expect. And it's extensive, to say the least. So we jumped through our final hoop in August of 2024, and we were told officially that we were on the adoption registry in September of 2024. And since then, I pretty much had put it out of sight, out of mind, and just chose to focus on myself, my marriage, my businesses. As you know, I've been pouring my heart and soul into building my private practice and now my coaching business. And so I really just continued to pour into that. I mean, that really had become like my baby. I birthed this beautiful business, this soul aligned business, and we didn't have any kids. So I really could unapologetically pour into my businesses and make it this soul aligned, beautiful thing, which I have. And I'm proud to say that. I am just so proud of what I built professionally. It's really like a child to me. It's my pride and joy. It still is, but now I have a baby. So anyways, from September on, I just really didn't think about this. We stayed busy. You know, you get into the holiday season, there's a lot going on. If I'm being completely honest, when December of 2024 hit, there was a part of me that there was a pain point that I had hit for sure. Was just very confident at the start of 2024 that we were going to be blessed with a baby in that year. And when I had finally gone through my final cycle in December of 2024, there was definitely some grief that I had to go through, that I had to process, because I was just very confident. I had all the faith in the world that it was going to happen in that year. There's also I have this weird thing with even numbers. So I wanted a baby on an even year. It's a weird thing I have, almost like it's not like an OCD thing, but I like even numbers. And so, yeah, I just was super confident that's when it was going to come. And I'll share this very intimate conversation I had with my best friend Meg, she's actually been on the podcast before. We did a collab early on when it was Therapeutic Intentions podcast. But anyways, I called Meg that week when I had gotten through my final cycle of the year. And I had just kind of broken down to her, which I was so confident throughout 2024. I never had any doubts in my mind that this wasn't going to happen, but I'm only human, right? So yes, there's going to be moments of weakness or moments where the grief just hits you, right? Your expectations are not being met. And so I called her and just kind of this low moment I was experiencing, and just told her, how disappointed I was that I was so confident that we were going to be blessed with a baby in 2024, and that I just felt defeated that it didn't happen, that I really didn't want to go through another holiday season without a baby, and that I couldn't believe that was going to happen again. I'll never forget, Meg told me in that conversation that she said something along the lines of, Stephanie, I know you didn't get pregnant in 2024, but it doesn't mean that your child was not conceived in 2024. There may be a birth mom out there who conceived your child, and you're going to find out in 2025. So don't lose hope. And that was just the perfect words that I needed to hear in that moment, to not lose hope. And just that idea that there might be a birth parent out there who was carrying our child that was on his or her way to us. And so that just really stuck with me. And so I remained hopeful. And at the start of 2025, I signed up for this retreat that my business coach was hosting out in LA. Initially, when the LA fires happened, I thought for sure the retreat was going to be canceled. And I was extremely bummed because I was just really looking forward to going out there. I was going to be getting some branding photos done. It was just going to be such a fun trip. Well, she did end up finding a new location for the retreat. So we did continue. She did move forward with having the retreat. So my husband decided he was going to fly out to LA with me for this business trip because it was not just that I was going out there for the retreat, but I did end up finding a photographer that my business coach recommended. I did schedule branding photos to be done while I was out there. I found a studio to have them in and we did some on the beach. So it definitely was a business related trip. And the only personal thing we had going on that we were going to be doing while we were out there was my cousin from San Diego was going to be coming up to see us. But otherwise, everything that was going on during this trip was solely just for the business. And so, we flew out to LA and we were supposed to get there. We ended up getting there a day late because there was blizzards happening in Iowa at that time. So we didn't get to fly out the day we wanted. We flew out a day later, unfortunately. And that was a whole debacle. I mean, if you listen to some of my previous episodes talking about my takeaways from this trip, you can hear all about that. But anyways, we flew out there a day later. And when the plane lands, we're taking our phones off airplane mode. Messages are coming through that we had missed while we were flying. And one of the messages that came through was an email from the adoption specialist. And I'm not going to mention her name because I want to respect privacy. But for her to email is pretty rare, especially since we had already jumped through our final hoops. She said, you're not going to hear from me unless I have either a baby or a expecting parent. So I opened this email and it states that there's an expectant mother that chose our profile and wanted to meet with us. And the adoption specialist said, I need to talk to you as soon as possible. Obviously, we're on the plane. I'm not going to call her, right? So I showed the message to my husband. And mind you, the traveling was just so stressful on him specifically. He just shook his head he did not have time to process this right now. Totally respect that. No problem. So I kind of just placed it out of sight, out of mind for the time being and focused on we needed to get from the airport to the rental car station, from the rental car station to our hotel in Laguna Beach. So that's what we were focusing on, even though inside I'm wanting to scream. This is so exciting, right? Well, from that point forward on the trip, we were getting signs and synchronicities left and right. It was unbelievable. Specifically, when we left the rental car place, there was a car in front of us the entire way from the rental car place till we got on the freeway with my birthday on it, which for those of you that don't know, my birthday is one of my angel numbers that I see. It's a significant number in my life. I see it all the time. It's just reassurance from my spirit guides. So that was a big sign for me. And then the day of the business retreat that Julia Martin was hosting, there were hummingbirds. At one point in time, there were hummingbirds hovering above. So all of us gals, we were sitting in a half circle on our yoga mats, and there was hummingbirds hovering above the circle. So hummingbirds have been a sign for me since my grandpa passed. And so my gut immediately was this baby is coming for you. This baby is coming for you. And, if I'm being completely honest with you, from the moment I got the news, I had no doubt in my mind, this is it. Our baby's coming for us. And I'm not surprised in the least that we get the message that our baby is coming for us when we are on the coast. If you know me, you know that my happy place is near or on the water, on the coast, somewhere, anywhere. As long as I'm near water or in a coastal town, I'm in my happy place. And, of course, when I'm living my best life on the coast, that's when baby comes through for us. So that was a pretty crazy situation within itself. And I'm not even surprised that that's when the baby came through for us. Are you ready to step into your most abundant next level self? What if I told you that what you wear and surround yourself with can actually help you manifest the life of your dreams? That's exactly why I'm so excited to share Future Self Apparel with you. It is a manifestation-focused lifestyle brand designed to empower you with affirmations, intentional products, and daily reminders to live your most abundant life. As a mindset and manifestation coach, I always preach about embodying your future self now. And that's exactly what this brand helps you do. Whether it's through affirmation-infused apparel, high vibrational products, or mindset-shifting reminders, everything Future Self creates is designed to elevate your energy, align you with your desires, and help you become the person you are meant to be. Here's what makes Future Self apparel so powerful. Every piece is created with intention, infused with positive affirmations and a manifestation energy. Wearing or using these products is a tangible way to embody your highest self daily. It's not just clothing, you guys. It's a mindset shift, helping you stay aligned with your goals and abundance. I've been obsessed with Future Self apparel as of just recently because it aligns perfectly with the work I do, helping women build confidence, rewire their beliefs, and create the life they've always dreamed of. So, if you're ready to step into your highest timeline and become the future self you've been manifesting, then this brand, this company is for you. Head to the link in today's show notes to shop Future Self apparel and start living as the most confident, abundant, and aligned version of you. So we couldn't actually have the conversation with the adoption specialist until Saturday of the trip because the day we landed, we had to hurry to the hotel. I had to get ready for my photo shoot, which was that same day in the afternoon. We only had an hour after we got to the hotel for me to get ready for the photo shoot, which was so not ideal. I mean, we're talking like a photo shoot for my headshots and branding photos. I mean, ideally, I wanted 2 hours to get ready for something like that. We're talking hair, makeup, clothes, packing everything, getting my props and everything ready to go. Like an hour was not enough time, but we made it work. And we had to drive an hour to the hotel. And then from the hotel to the photo studio was another half hour. So, I mean, there was just a lot going on that day. By the time we were done with the photo shoot, it was getting dark. We had to drive back to the hotel. Then we got supper quick. And then we were exhausted after a full day of travels. So we pretty much went back to the hotel room and we were out. The next day was my business retreat. So that was a full day. I was picked up that morning it was, I think, 7 a.m. And I didn't get home until 8 o'clock that night. So it was a full day retreat. And so there was no time to make that call to the adoption specialist. So we didn't call her until Saturday. So Saturday of the trip, we're in our hotel room. We're getting ready. My cousin from San Diego and her husband and son are coming up that day to spend time with us on the beach. So I'm sitting on the bed and I decide to call the adoption specialist. There was a sense of urgency in her email, so I just didn't want to put it off too long. So I called her and, it's a weekend. She doesn't have her notes in front of her and she's telling me everything she could remember from her notes, that there's an expectant mother. She pulled your guys' profile. She didn't want to pull any others. She only wants to meet you guys. And I'm like, this is great news, right? And she said she knows she's having a baby boy, just telling me some background about her, where she's from, how old she is, her situation, why she's giving her baby up for adoption, all the things. And then at the end of the conversation, she says, we need to get the ball rolling on this because she's due on April 11th. Mind you, this phone call was happening on, I believe it was March 8th. So a month from then was the baby's due date. I was like, holy shit. So we could have a baby in a month. So I'm sharing all this information with my husband, with Mitch. It was just a lot to process. And it's not like we could tell very many people because nothing is for certain until the baby is in our arms, obviously. So we decided we needed to keep it hush-hush initially. We didn't want to tell very many people. We didn't want word to get out because at any point in time, this birth mother could change her mind. And I'm not going to name names. I just really want to respect birth parents' privacy. So I'm not going to give any names out of respect for them and their privacy. So the week following the LA trip, we had an interview with birth mom. And I mean, talk about nerve-wracking. Even the drive there was just so nerve-wracking. My husband was a nervous wreck. I just didn't know what to expect. I mean, I was hoping for the best, but I'm going to be honest. I knew from the time we got the news in LA that this baby was going to be ours. I never had a doubt in my mind. So the week following the LA trip, we had this interview with birth mom. We walk into that interview and by the end of that interview, we met with her for an hour, but by the end of that interview, she said that she was pretty certain that she was going to choose us. which was a sigh of relief for us, obviously. But we agreed we needed to have a second meeting just so we could solidify her decision. So we all felt confident in this decision moving forward. But her due date was April 11th, so we couldn't waste any time. I mean, at that point, at her, I think, 36-week appointment, she was told she could have him any day. So we needed to just keep moving forward with everything to make sure that she was confident in her decision, especially since we weren't telling anybody at this point in time. So we didn't want to tell anyone until she 100% said, like, yes, I'm giving the baby to you guys. So we agreed to a second meeting. Like I said, my husband and I kept it a secret. Literally the only person that I told, because if you know me, I can't keep secrets very well, but I've gotten so much better at this, if I'm being honest. I only told one person from that day forward, and it was my best friend, Meg. I mean, this is just not something that you want out to the whole world, just because there's always a chance it could go backwards. But I had to tell somebody. And Meg's just always been that tried and true person, my soul sister. Like, I can tell her anything. So we had our second meeting with birth mom and the adoption specialist. All of our meetings included the adoption specialist. So we get to our second meeting, and as soon as we walk in, birth mom immediately tells us that she was choosing us, that she was confident in her decision, that she felt happy with her decision. So at that point forward, we discussed a birth plan. We discussed whether it was going to be an open versus closed adoption. We discussed birth dad's role in all of this. I mean, we got into all the nitty gritty details in this meeting. Birth mom she was pretty adamant that she wanted it to be a closed adoption. Initially, the birth plan was that, we were going to be in separate hospital rooms, and that the baby would get transferred by a nurse from their hospital room to ours. And birth mom made it known in this meeting that birth dad did not want anything to do with the process. He would legally sign his rights away, but he did not want to meet us. He did not want to cross paths with us in the hospital. He did not want to hold the baby the day he was born. He agreed he would be there at the hospital to support her. But besides that, he just really didn't want a role in any of this. And, I, not being in either of their shoes ever in my life, like, I can't imagine what mentally they are going through. And so we just respected his wishes. And honestly, at that time, with him not wanting to be involved, it meant one less person to convince to give this baby to us. So we were okay with that. And again, you have to respect his wishes. It's a very difficult decision making or deciding to give a child up for adoption. So, no judgment at all on that whole situation. So we left that meeting pretty much saying, okay, next time we see each other will be the day of delivery. I mean, that was pretty much decided. The one thing birth mom was requesting from the birth or the day of birth is she wanted to do immediate skin to skin contact, and she wanted to breastfeed one last time. So we did grant her those requests. I mean, we knew it was a risk. I mean, we're talking, breastfeeding and skin to skin contact after giving birth. I mean, those are two very intimate moments with the baby and for mom. And so while having her do those things could result in her changing her mind, it was one of those things that we were willing to risk. Obviously, I want those things for baby. And even if she were to change her mind, I would want him to have that skin to skin contact. I would want him to be breastfed. And so we were absolutely, of course. And she was also requesting just to have those first few hours with the baby as well without us there. And we completely understood that as well. So all of that was discussed in this second meeting. And so when we left, we just knew at this point forward, we just wait for the call from the adoption specialist saying that our baby boy was born. And we did know there was a chance he could be born early. So birth mom did share with us that her firstborn was born 3 weeks early. And while not every birth goes the same way as the one prior to it, there is a chance. So we kept that in the back of our mind as well. So since we knew at this point forward that she had officially chosen us, well, one more thing I will add to that story in regards to the second meeting that we had with birth mom. These meetings are they're uncomfortable. They're awkward. I mean, you're talking about this woman giving us a baby that she's been carrying, and also nothing is for certain until papers are signed. And so just to help ease our minds a little bit, my husband put the question out there at the end of this meeting to birth mom, and he just said, I realize this is really awkward to ask this of you, but it's kind of the elephant in the room. I just need to know for my peace of mind and for my wife's peace of mind, how certain are you that you're going to go forward on this? How certain are you that you're going to give this baby to us? And she said, I really respect you for asking that. And I'm telling you, I'm going through with this. And she kind of explained her reasoning, which again, I'm going to respect her privacy. There's no reason to tell you all of those details necessarily. But after she explained her reasoning, we felt more confident that, yeah, this was going to happen for us. But they're calling it a high-risk adoption for a reason. I don't know if I mentioned that early on. It's called a high-risk adoption, which means at any point in time, if birth mom or birth parents were to change their mind, then we have to give the baby back. And so we just have to get through a certain amount of days till after the baby is born for it to be less of a risk of having to give the baby back. So at that point forward, after we left that meeting, we did start telling more people because we really needed to prep mentally and physically, like our environment. We needed to prep for this baby. And the adoption specialist did tell us to live with the bare minimum with baby for the first at least 6 weeks, especially because it was a high-risk adoption. Just knowing that there's a chance at birth, mom could change her mind within those first, it's an 8-day window. So if she were to change her mind within those first 8 days, there's no arguing about it. We have to give the baby back to her. And so for that reason, it's encouraged that we just live with the bare minimum. And, you know, with an infant, you really don't need a lot. Like, you need a bassinet, you need diapers, you need bottles, you know, you don't need a lot. You need clothes. So, in a car seat, obviously. So we did not go crazy buying stuff. In fact, we told people, like, please don't get us stuff. We just need the bare minimum right now. Well, what was needed for us was literally donated to us left and right, which was such a humbling experience, to say the least. I mean, the only thing prior to the baby being born that we spent money on were bottles, which is so mind-blowing and so humbling. Like, it's like people hear the word adoption and or baby even, and they're like, here, take this off my hands. So we were, so many things, abundance of things were donated to us. We were so humbled by that experience. And then, so it was Friday, March 28th. We were going to bed that night, and I told my husband, I'm going to put my phone on airplane mode because more than likely this is the last Saturday to sleep in, and I wanted to take advantage of that. So we put our phones on silent. I put my phone on airplane mode. The next morning, my husband actually had a fishing trip planned with his best friend. So we were trying to go to bed at a decent time. Well, in the middle of the night that night, my husband and I both woke up at separate times with like horrible gut-wrenching pain, which you would think like, oh, it's probably something you ate. Well, my husband and I did not eat the same meal the night before. I was out with a girlfriend. I had supper at her house the night before. He had supper at home. So we did not eat the same thing. I thought maybe what I was experiencing was ovulation cramps. I mean, I had to go get a heating pad. I couldn't even walk straight. I was in pain for I think I laid there awake with the heating pad on my stomach for 2 hours. I mean, it was just ridiculous. And my husband was he was in pain I think he was up for 2 to 3 hours too. So it was so bizarre that we both had this experience. We finally did go back to bed, woke up the next morning. My husband was getting his fishing boat ready. His friend had showed up. They were getting ready to leave. I'm just slowly getting out of bed. I didn't have anything going on. I just needed to run errands to get baby clothes and stuff. And so I didn't really want to be in a hurry. I take my phone off airplane mode. I have a text that comes through from birth mom saying, all it said was, it's go time. I seriously ran out to the garage, showed it to my husband, and we couldn't believe it. So he didn't know if they should still go fishing or not because we knew she wanted the first few hours with the baby. So we waited to get the call from the adoption specialist, and she confirms that our baby boy was born. In the middle of the night, March 29th, 2:35 in the morning, our baby boy was born. So the adoption specialist tells us, don't plan on coming until later tonight. Worst case scenario, Sunday morning. Apparently, birth mom had wanted just those first 24 hours with him, which we completely respected that. So Mitch still goes fishing. I still run my errands. We didn't tell anybody the news. Just went about our day. Talk about keeping a big secret. So I'm getting calls throughout the day from the adoption specialist, just giving me updates as to how baby's doing, how birth mom's doing, letting me know that she's still wanting to go through with the adoption. Just updates every couple of hours from her. And then later that afternoon, she did confirm, why don't you guys plan on coming right away Sunday morning to meet our baby and get admitted into the hospital. Sunday, March 30th, we leave our house. We drive to the hospital. On the way there, we call my mom. We call my in-laws. We tell them the news. We ask them to please keep it on the down low until we know that we're bringing a baby home because, again, nothing's for certain yet. And then on the drive to the hospital, we discuss a name for our baby, which I'll tell you the story about that at the end.
Are you 5'4" or under?
If so, listen up. This ad is for you. Did you know nearly half of women in the US are petite? Yet, shopping for stylish clothes that fit perfectly can feel impossible. For years, I struggled with this. Shopping in kids sections, dealing with oversized arms, long pants, and wasted money on alterations. I hated shopping because nothing ever fit just right. Then I found Short Story, a clothing subscription box specifically designed for petite women. Short Story is rewriting the fashion rules for petites, offering clothes tailored for all sizes, shapes, and heights under 5'4". They even design their lines based on feedback from their subscribers, people like you and me. Here's what makes Short Story amazing. Each box is personalized to your measurements and style preferences. No more alterations or guesswork. You choose how often you get a box. You can do monthly, bi-monthly, or quarterly. Every box includes 7 items, and I usually keep around 4 to 6 of them because they fit so perfectly. Their styling quiz lets you share your budget, style preferences, and even your Pinterest board for inspiration. Yes, I've literally manifested my Pinterest wardrobe thanks to Short Story. And lastly, after each box, you can give feedback to make your next box even better. So imagine never having to shop in stores again, feeling confident at every event you attend, and knowing your clothes were curated specifically for you. I've been a loyal subscriber for 6 years now, and I promise it's been a game changer. If you're ready to up-level your style and show up as the best version of yourself, then give Short Story a try today. And then a bonus for my listeners, you can use the referral link in today's show notes to waive the $25 styling fee on your first box. Let Short Story handle the hassle while you show up stylish, confident, and ready to take on the world. And we get to the hospital. Mitch goes and parks the car, and then we both meet the adoption specialist in the entryway of the birth center, and she immediately tells us that there's been a change of plans. Literally, my heart drops when she says this, thinking like, they had a change of heart. They're not giving us the baby. The change of plans was that birth father was there and he actually wanted to meet us now, which, like I said earlier, he wanted nothing to do with the process. He agreed he would be there the day of the birth to support birth mom. But besides that, he did not want to meet us. He did not want to hold baby. He just agreed he would sign off his rights legally, and that was it. Now he wanted to meet us. So that was a little nerve-wracking. And then the other change was that both birth mom and birth dad wanted to be the ones to give the baby to us instead of a nurse. So this really had us anxious. We hadn't met this guy before. We didn't know what to expect. We really thought not having contact with them on this day would be best case scenario because this is a celebratory moment for us, but a hard moment for them. They're grieving. They're saying goodbye. I mean, 2 extremely different emotions. And so we were uneasy about this decision, but it's kind of one of those things that it's like they have the right to ask that of us. So we complied. And so the adoption specialist led us to their hospital room. And that walk was just the most anxious, nerve-wracking walk ever. We get to their room and we walk in behind the adoption specialist, and birth mom and birth dad are sitting on the hospital bed, and birth dad is holding our baby. And first thing when we walk in, birth dad stands up and says, "Do you guys want to meet your son?" And the tears just start rolling. I'm bawling. He hands the baby to me. I'm sobbing. I'm so overwhelmed with emotion that I hand the baby to Mitch because I was afraid I was going to drop him or something. Mitch takes him. He starts crying. And as he's holding the baby, I just say to birth mom and birth dad, "You guys, you are doing the most selfless act that you can do for another human being. This thank you just doesn't even cover it. This is just the most precious gift you can give to us." And at that point, all 4 of us are crying. I mean, it was just such a beautiful and heartfelt moment. And then we share with him the name that we picked out for him, which was Augustus Lawrence. And we hug each other. We say our goodbyes. They're pretty much packing up the room at that point in time, getting ready to be discharged. It was just such an unbelievable moment. I mean, we were so anxious. We didn't know how it was going to go. To walk in, to be greeted with the words, "Do you want to meet your son?" was just such a heartfelt moment. And I'll just never forget that. And to someday be able to tell that story to Augie and to tell him how his birth parents just made such a selfless decision. It's just such a beautiful story that I can't wait to someday tell him. And after we all exchanged hugs, after I said what I said, and then we all exchanged hugs, birth dad said back to me, he said, well, we just know that you guys will be able to give him a much better life than what we could give him. And then we were all sobbing all over again. I mean, it was just so emotional and so beautiful. So I'm just so grateful that that's how that final moment went between the four of us and Augie. So then after that, we were taken to our own hospital room and birth parents were discharged at this point in time. From that point forward, it was such a crazy experience. The hospital staff informed us that this was their first infant adoption that they've had. And if you know anything about adoptions, infant adoptions are extremely rare these days. So, I mean, it was a learning experience for all of us, to say the least. We had nurses coming in every couple hours. Nurses came and taught us literally everything, answered any questions we had, showed us how to bathe him, went over checklists with us. I mean, it was just overwhelming, to say the least. And just those first 24 hours, you're just taking in so much information. It is overwhelming. And then we had the decision as to whether to keep him in our room overnight or put him in the nursery. And we chose to keep him in our room, which meant no sleep for us, but that's okay. That's the reality of having a newborn. And then day 2 of being in the hospital, so March 31st, that was the day we got to take him home. So we did choose to get him circumcised. And while he was in getting that done, we were packing up our stuff, getting ready for discharge. The adoption specialist came back during that time and we sat down with her and did paperwork, wrote a check pretty much like for purchasing the baby. I know it sounds really weird and cold, but that's pretty much what it is. I went over all the legal stuff that we needed to go over with her and then said our goodbyes to the staff, did all the discharge with the staff. Mitch came, pulled the car around front. Before we actually got in the car and loaded, we had the staff take our pictures out front and with the adoption specialist and everybody. And we said our goodbyes and then we had an hour drive home in front of us. And driving home with an infant is scary AF. I mean, I sat in the back with Augie because I think that's pretty normal, right? But literally we pulled out of the hospital parking lot and my husband said to me, well, we just bought a baby. Like, I can't believe the hospital just let us leave with a baby. So it was just such a crazy moment, to say the least. So we drove home, and when we got home, we were greeted by my mom. She was at the house while we were gone to let the dog out for us. And when we pulled into the garage, some dear friends of ours had decorated our front door with a banner and balloons and a baby gift. And then when we walked into the house, there were baby books on display on our entertainment center from our in-laws. Later that day, my in-laws came to meet the baby. And from that point forward, life has just changed. Nothing prepares you for those first few weeks with an infant, like nothing. Like the closest thing I can think that would really prepare you for those days is like my college days, the late nights, the early mornings, lack of sleep, all of that. But I haven't been in college for over 10 years. So nothing prepares you for that, the moment of having an infant. So for the first week, we didn't allow any visitors besides our immediate family members because, like I said before, those first 8 days after baby is born, that's the window where if birth parents change their mind and they decide they want the baby back, we would have to give him back. And so you really have to get through those first 8 days to feel like, okay, this is official for us. So we weren't telling a ton of people even at that point in time that we had adopted. We just lived with the bare minimum stuff that we needed. But because we didn't know for certain that we were going to be keeping him or not, we did not allow for outside visitors besides our immediate family until those 8 days were up. So once we got through that window, it actually felt like we could take a sigh of relief. It felt like we could finally relax a little bit. It's a lot less likely for birth parents to be able to change their mind at that point forward. Although, again, if I'm being honest with you all, I never had a doubt in my mind through this whole journey. I knew he was ours. I knew he was coming. and he was going to be coming home with us forever. Like I said, I just never had a doubt about it. So weeks 2 and 3, it felt like we had visitors stopping by pretty much daily. People were just excited to meet Augie and congratulate us and check in on us. And we truly are blessed with just the most amazing support system in our circle. We just have an abundance of friends and family who are here for us if and when we need them. And so there was no lack of support in those first few weeks. And the next hurdle that we had to jump through was week 6, which was this week. Well, the day I'm recording this, it was earlier this week. So week 6 is when the court hearing happens for birth parents where parental rights get removed, which makes it official that, he's truly ours for good. So that court hearing happened earlier this week and it was successful. We got the call from the adoption specialist that the judge had put the order through and that all the paperwork was signed by birth parents. And so that was kind of our last final hurdle that needed to happen for us to feel more solidified that yes, this baby is ours for good. And then the only last thing that we wait for is at 6 months. So when Augie is 6 months old, we will have our court hearing. And this is when Augie officially gets a birth certificate stating that he is a ding bum. This is when he will be able to have a social security card once he officially has our last name. And it's just a very celebratory court hearing for us. You invite friends and family, and it's just a celebratory day. So that's the story of how our son came to us, how this whole journey happened, how we got blessed with a beautiful baby boy. Augie has just been such a great baby, and we just feel so blessed. And I really do want to share some takeaways from all of this. One, I want to say that I am so glad I did the mindset work that I've done over the last 7 years because I never once let myself have an ounce of doubt through this whole journey. I was in a mindset of certainty all the way through this since we got that message on March. I think it was March 6th. From the time we got that message, I had a mindset of certainty. This was happening for us. And honestly, that's the best thing you can do for yourself because even though there's so many reasons that you could have doubts in life. Why would you want to live your life constantly carrying doubt? I mean, it's really not serving you well. And I know you could probably argue that, but that's your own limiting beliefs getting in your way if you truly want to live with doubt all the time. I believe that living with certainty is the best way to live. I also choose to live with abundance mindset all the time. It's not like a toxic positivity thing. I just truly think that's the best way to live. And it's how you're more likely to manifest things in your life. The other thing I want to say is all the signs and synchronicities that we experienced, the hummingbirds, the day of the retreat in LA, which again, I believe that is a sign from my grandpa. And I the depths of my soul. I just truly believe that my grandpa brought this baby to us. I know his hand played a role in this, which is why we named Augie after him. So my grandpa's name was Lawrence. So that's why we named him Augustus Lawrence. And people have been asking, what's the story behind the name Augustus? And I don't really have an exciting story, but what I do have a story to tell about the name is, so I've just always loved the name Augustus. Part of the reason is because my birth month is August. Another reason is because the name Augustus is rare and it's also just a natural born leader name. And I just love the idea of giving a name to your child that has that leadership quality in it. I love that. And so that's a name that's just always been on my baby list. And I've had a baby list in my phone for years, since before we started trying. So the day of our second interview with Birth Mom, and we were driving home and we were talking about names, and my husband didn't have any. He had none, which I think that's pretty common. I don't know. Some guys do, some don't. But I asked if he had any ideas. He didn't have any. And I was like, well, I have a list. So I'll just read my list off and you tell me which ones you want to veto and you tell me which ones you like. So I'm going through the list and there was only 2 names that he didn't hate on the list. 2. And there was probably 12 names on this list. So whatever. One of those 2 names was Augustus and he loved the idea of calling him Augie for short. The cool thing about this is when I made my vision board for 2025, I printed off an adoption certificate, a miniature version of an adoption certificate, and I put it on my vision board. But before I printed it on Canva, I added some text on the lines of the certificate. I added Mitch and my name on the lines for the parents. And then I added a baby name on there. And the baby name that I put on there, Mitch never saw that name, mind you. Like, he saw the vision board, but he didn't look closely at it because it's just not really his thing. But he did not see the name on there. He specifically told me that. And the name that I put on the adoption certificate on my vision board for this year said Augustus Lawrence, which is so... I manifested this, you guys. And then the pictures around the adoption certificate on the vision board have words with blue lettering. There's a blue hearts around it. I totally manifested us this baby boy. I mean, I totally manifested this. And I just had, again, no doubt that this was going to come to us. And then I go back to that conversation that I had with Meg in December of 2024, where she said, Stephanie, you don't know. Your child may have been conceived yet in 2024. And she was right. And the whole story just gives me chills, gives me goosebumps, just thinking about how she was right. And I totally manifested this, and he found us, he came to us. And I believe without a doubt that his soul, I mean, this is just my personal belief system, and I'm not saying you have to believe this, but I truly do believe that his soul chose us prior to conception. In general, I believe that babies choose which parents they're going to join Earthside prior to conception. That's my spiritual belief system. No issue. I mean, no judgment if you don't agree with that, but that's just how I see things. And that's what I believe, confidently believe that. And I just, my gut tells me, I just know that he did. His soul chose us prior to conception. His journey to us just had to be different from the traditional, and that's okay. In fact, I absolutely love how he found us, how he came to us. And someday in the future, we'll share this story with him, and it'll be a beautiful story to be able to tell him. But he has just truly felt like ours from day one, which, I mean, yes, we adopted him, but it doesn't feel like it. It truly felt like he was ours. And the only other thing I'll say is I definitely underestimated how parenthood changes you. It definitely has solidified my values in ways that nothing else could. I mean, my business definitely did that too, but parenthood does it in a way that nothing else does. And, you know, it reminds me of my why for my business too. You know, that time freedom, that family freedom, that financial freedom, like that why becomes even stronger now that I've entered parenthood. And while it's been a crazy ride, a crazy last couple months, I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I'm just so excited to see how this journey goes for us, and so grateful for how our story has unfolded, and just grateful for all the love and support that we've had through this journey. We just truly are blessed with an abundance of love and support in our life. And Augie is blessed with an abundance of love and support. Just so many people love him so much, and they have even before meeting him. And I just think how beautiful that is for this soul that has entered this world. It's just such a beautiful experience. So that's our story. And I just really appreciate you guys tuning in and listening to this. It's something that I've just felt called to share with you. A lot of people have had questions about it, and so it just feels right to share it on here. If there's any parts of this that resonated with you, I would love to hear from you. Feel free to DM me. Thank you guys again for listening. And until next time, I will talk to you guys next week.
Real quick before you go, I just want to thank you so much for spending a little time with me today. And congratulations on showing up for you. Every step you take to invest in yourself brings you that much closer to your next level self, and I'm so proud of you. If you loved this episode, share it with someone who could use a little inspiration, or take a screenshot and tag me on socials so we can keep spreading the next level you energy. Thanks again for tuning in, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode. Let's freaking go!